All right, everyone. So I'm going to do a quick deck profile and some combo videos for the upcoming Appmon deck in BT21. This is a deck that I am super excited for. I've been waiting for this for years. I'm a huge fan of the show. So I'm definitely already going to be practicing this deck. I have the proxies printed, and I will most likely be showing some videos on here on this channel as I get some gameplay in for the deck. Hopefully it is a great deck. I have high hopes for it. Let's go ahead and jump into the deck profile though. So we'll start with our eggs, which is going to be for Sociamon. Sociamon's effect is when this Digimon gets linked, draw a card. We're going to talk about linking and app fusing and all of that throughout this video. So for those of y'all who don't know, app linking is going to be a new mechanic where all the Appmon have the ability to link, and they can only link to Appmon. So this doesn't work for any other Digimon. You pay the cost to link, and then you put in the card that you're linking into the card that you're linking to. The card you're linking, you're to put into the side. Think about like slotting in a SIM card in your phone or an SD card or anything like that. That's linking. So it's going to go, instead of how inheritables go, it'll be going on the side. And with these, you get different linking effects. None of the Appmon do have inheritables except for Sociamon. So when you're app fusing, which is a different mechanic as well, which we'll talk about, it is the same Digimon. Unlike DNA Digi-evolving, for example, where it was considered a new Digimon and you'd get to use inheritables multiple times, Sociamon, you're only going to get to use it once per stack, per turn. All right, so we'll jump in level 3s. So the level 3s, they all give 2k DP when linked, and the link cost is going to be 1. They're going to start with Watchmon. Watchmon on play until your opponent's turn ends. One of their Digimon can't attack players. And then when linking, same thing, opponent's Digimon can't attack players. So it's good for a selective stun if you are playing against certain matchups where that's beneficial. It's probably not the best one in the deck, and if we're missing 2 right now, so if the other Appmon are just better than it, this will be the first card that I take out. Next up is Navimon. Navimon's your generic searcher. So on play, real top 3, and you get an Appmon and an app driver. It does search for by card, not Digimon specifically. So that's important because the option card that we have right now is considered an Appmon. An app driver is essentially just all of the Tamers. The rest return to the bottom of the deck, and that's something to note because there's going to be something different as we go on through the searchers later. And so up next, we got the other level 3, Calendarmon. So the first 2 level 3s, which they're not called rookies, they're actually called standard grade Appmon, but we'll just go by level at this point. And so those 2 weren't amazing, but these next 2 are my favorite. So Calendarmon facilitates a lot of plays, especially with Globon. And Calendarmon has a security effect. At the end of the battle, play this card without paying the cost. But its link effect is where it's really good. It's all of your opponent's security Digimon get minus 3k DP. Don't forget, it gives the Digimon it's linked to plus 2k. So Calendar plus Globe is going to be a pseudo 15k attacker, security plus 1. So I love that combo. And then next up is Gotchmon. Gotchmon, when this Digimon gets linked, if you have 1 or fewer Tamers, play a Haru without paying the cost. So that's a really good effect. You want to hit that every chance that you can get, every game. You're very rarely going to be using its link effect, which is just gives that Digimon raid. So those are your level 3s. And then we're going to level 4s. All your level 4s right now have a link cost of 2, and they give 3k DP. So you'll see on the level 4s through 6s that they have some multiple Digivolution requirements or Digivolution options. And so, for example, we'll start with Gossipmon. Gossipmon can go over the purple level 3 for 2, or any standard grade Appmon for 2. So again, standard is just essentially the level 3s. And Gossipmon does have a security effect. So at the end of the battle, play this card without paying the cost. On play when Digivolving, return a Digimon card with Appmon trait from the trash to the hand. Unfortunately, it doesn't return your option or your Tamer. When linking, return a Digimon with Appmon from trait from trash to hand. So it's really good toolbox play, especially because you're going to be going through a lot of resources in this deck. Next up is Timon, playing 4 of those. For the most part, playing 4 of everything going forward. Timon is going to have blocker and de-digivolve when it gets linked and when it links into something else. And with Timon, it has a special Digivolution requirement as well. So this is called App Fusion. Watchmon, SaveMon, and CalendarMon. App Fusion is essentially you can use any combination of the two of those. So I run Watchmon and CalendarMon. SaveMon hasn't been released yet. So whether it be Watchmon with CalendarMon linked on it or CalendarMon with Watchmon linked on it, either one of those is going to be a zero cost to Digivolve into Timon, which is what makes Appmon so good because of that really cheap Digivolution cost just for linking and then fusing. Then the Digivolve, it's good in every matchup, but it kind of gets outshined because then we have Dogatchmon, which is my favorite level 4. And this is the more expensive Digivolution cost of 3 on top of red or green or on top of any standard. But Dogatchmon has Rush and Raid, and I'll show you how to use those in a later section of this video. And your turn, once returned, when this Digimon gets linked, it may attack. I don't think I'll ever be using that. No, I'll be using that. And then when linking, this Digimon may attack. When we're going through the basic combo, though, I don't think I'll ever be using the effect for Dogatchmon itself to attack. I want other stuff to attack. But the App Fusion effect, or the App Fusion requirements are Gotchmon, Navimon, and Tweetmon. So any combination of the two. We haven't had Tweetmon revealed for us yet as of the recording of this video. Cost for those is 0. Sorry you can't see that under the sample text over them, the watermark, but the cost to App Fuse is 0. So either Gotchmon with Navimon linked or Navimon with Gotchmon linked works best. And then we're going to go on to our level 5s. So the level 5s, the link cost is going to be 3. And then the DP that gives the Digimon is 4K. First one is Charismon. And Charismon is a blocker as well. On play when Digivolving, link a level 4 Digimon from trash or the Digivolution cards to this Digimon without paying the cost. And then once per turn, when a Digimon gets linked, give one of your opponent's Digimon start a main phase Digimon attacks until their turn ends, which I love. What was the deck? It was Doragraemon from Digimon Seekers. It had that taunt ability as well. That was probably one of my favorite decks from the Digimon Seekers line was the Dex Dorugray and all of that. So I love that. It does have App Fusion requirements of Sociamon and Gossipmon. We don't run Sociamon. I will show it off later, but it's kind of like the worst of all of them. So we'll never really be fusing into this, but you can Digivolve on top of any, was that super? Yeah, super grade is what the level 4s are considered. So any super grade Appmon or any black purple super grade. We do run something to make use of this taunt, so it is not a dead effect. But the really good effect for Charismon is the link effect. So when this Digimon will leave the battle area by trashing one of this Digimon's link cards, it doesn't leave. So that's by battle, that's by bottom decking, returning to hand. However, it can be affected by Digivolution, but that's literally any Digimon at this point. And then we're going to go on to Globemon. So Globemon's your main combo Digimon. And Globemon does have security +1. So really strong for level 5 because when you Digivolve or play Globemon, you may link a level 4 lower Digimon from your hand or its Digivolution cards to this Digimon without paying the cost. And ideally, I want to do CalendarMon whenever I'm using that effect if it's my turn and I'm able to attack. If not, then it's just going to depend on what the board state is. So on play, once per turn, your turn, when this Digimon gets linked, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. And if you're trying to clear a wide board or just a big body that you can't clear otherwise, that is a pretty good effect because it'll have 10k plus whatever it gets from the app linking. It does go over a red or yellow or a super great Appmon for Digivolution cost of 4. And it does have an App Fusion requirement of Dogatchmon and Timon for 0 cost. So those are the key level 4s that we play in the deck. So if you are App Fusing, it's usually going into Globemon. And then Globemon, when linking, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. That's an effect that you won't use too often, but it does come up. Then we got Gaiamon. Gaiamon is going to be the only level 6 that we have right now. It is considered your God grade Appmon. Globemon was considered an ultimate grade Appmon. So Gaiamon goes over a red level 5 or an ultimate, and either for 5 cost, either one of those. But you really wouldn't be using it. Actually, no, you're going to use it every so often, and I'll show you some instances where it does happen. But for the most part, you're going to be at fusing from Globemon and Charismon for cost of 0. So it is a blocker, and that is important because it also has some abilities to unsuspend itself, attack, and do all that. It is Link +1, so this is the only Link +1 we have. Normally, you can only link 1 Appmon per Digimon. But with Globemon, or with Gaiamon, you're able to link 2 Appmon to it, which, again, really good stuff. So when Digivolving and when attacking, you may link 1 Digimon card with the Appmon trait from your hand or this Digimon's Digivolution cards to one of your opponent's Digimon without paying the cost. And I'll show you in the main combo how we use that. The really good part, though, is once per turn during your turn, when your Digimon get linked, by unsuspending this Digimon, trash your opponent's top security card. So that is your level 6. It's just really good stuff. And then we're going to go into our other level 6. We run one of Shadow Seraphimon. So you can Digivolve Shadow Seraphimon over Globemon or Charismon, but Shadow Seraphi plus Charismon, or Charismon does use Taunt, so you can go into Shadow Seraphi and you can force your opponent to make you, or to let you do that ace play. So that's a really good use of Charismon right there. All right, so we have our option. It's going to be Applink. Applink is going to be a searcher, but it's a little bit different from your generic searcher, which is the Navimon. So Applink has a few things going for it. First off, is it does count Digimon or Tamers with Appmon trait on the field. Don't forget that when a card mentions the field, it is talking about the breeding area as well. So if you have Gotchmon in the back, Digivolved on top of your Tweetmon, you could still use Applink. And then main, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card with Appmon or the App Driver trait among them to your hand, trash the rest. Or then place this card in the battle area. So this actually facilitates some Gossipmon plays, especially very early on. And if Gossipmon's your only kind of body aside from your rookie or anything like that, it's a 4 cost to play Gossipmon. So it's a pretty good card. If your opponent's getting early security checks and they hit a Gossipmon, you're getting stuff back. You really do not want to have a Gossipmon on field without stuff in your trash. So we try to get that in there as early as possible. And then we're playing, what is this? Hero of the Skies. And we're just doing that for the draw 2. It's a flex spot, so if we got to take it out to make room for anything, that's probably one of the first cards we'll take out. We got to see how consistent the deck is. All right, and then we get into our only Tamer, which is going to be Haru. Haru is your memory setter. And then when your Digimon get linked by suspending this Tamer, draw 1. Then one of your Digimon may app fuse into a Digimon card in the hand. So this is where Haru and the level 5s kind of clash. So the level 5s only attach level 4s or link level 4s to themselves. So if you wanted to link a level 5 onto a 5, you'd have to pay that cost of 3, which will usually pass turn, which triggers a Haru. So that's kind of why it allows you to do it whenever you link. However, it's just that's probably the only real downside to the deck. It's not bad at all. You're still getting to do all your plays. It kind of just stops the deck from being too broken. And then we play 2 Analog Youth. That's just to fill our trash and search as fast as possible because this is a resource-intensive deck. So as many searchers and as many draw cards as possible is absolutely necessary right now. That may change in the future. And then I'm going to show off Sociamon. So Sociamon aren't really running this at all. It's out of all the Appmon is probably the worst one. And the only downside to not running it is we can't fuse into Charismon. And so it is a security effect where you play it out. On play, when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets -2k DP. and that's the same link effect. Sociamon is a level 4, and so it's going to be cost of 2 to link and 3k DP boost for anything that it links to. If this were a blanket minus 2k, that would have been much better, and I probably would have run a couple of this just for the toolboxiness of it. But this current effect is just kind of bad, and so we don't need it. I'm hoping that we get other stuff. You will notice that the Digimon used for Charismon, the 2 level 4s, Gossipmon and Sociamon, they do not have app fusion requirements. It's probably a lore thing. Not all Digimon need to be, or not all Appmon need to have app fusion. And, we're realistically not going to be app fusing those anyways, so it's nothing that affects us in negative light. But this is the deck. It will probably change. I will be testing it out and hopefully posting some gameplay videos. And we're going to move on to a couple of combos.
All right, so I'm going to show you some basic combos with this deck, some different ways to use all of your different pieces here. And so we're going to start off with kind of like your perfect scenario combo. So this is going to be like huge chunk of damage to your opponent. You're going to need a lot of resources for this. You're not always going to pull this off, but when you do see it, it's going to be amazing. So for this, you're going to need all this stuff. And realistically, you're drawing into it as you go. So don't expect it to just show up in your hand. This will come in some variation though. But let's say you go turn 1, and you're going to Digivolve into your Gotchmon. And don't forget App Link, as long as you have an Appmon on the field, which includes a breeding area, then you can play this without meeting the green color requirement. So we'll just, turn 1, play App Link. And then that is your opening play, and then hopefully your opponent puts you at 3, right? So you're going to promote, and you're going to start off with paying 1 memory to link your Navimon. Swipemon's going to get you a draw, so that'll help you get to your pieces. And Gotchmon is going to play a Haru. Now you're going to want to go ahead and app fuse, so that's for free. So you're going to app fuse into Dogatchmon. You'll get your draw off of that. And with this, you're going to need Timon for this. Timon, you're going to pay 2, and you're going to link it into your Dogatchmon. So Timon gets a D-Digivolve. If you need it, use it. Dogatch gets attack. I don't think I would use this. Realistically, there's other stuff to use that attack on. You want your Digimon unsuspended for this. Don't forget, those are not inheritables, so cover those up. But now you're ready to app fuse again. So you're going to fuse into Globemon. Globemon will put a link from hand or in one of his sources on him. So we're going to choose Calendarmon. And Calendarmon is going to give him plus 2k DP and your opponent's security minus 3k. So now I could swing for what I call pseudo 15k security plus 1. So now that it's suspended, this is perfect. This is where the setup happens. With linking right now, you can only have 1 link source under. If you were to put another, the one that's currently under will be trashed. So we have the Charismon. We're going to trash this to pay 3 and link the Charismon in there. And now your Haru, because it's going to pass turnover. If you had started at 3 memory, you paid the 1 for the level 3, the 2 for the level 4, and now the 3 for the level 5. Haru allows you to draw a card and then link or fuse for free. So we will go ahead and go into Gaiamon. Gaiamon, when he digivolves, he is going to link a Digimon from either your hand or its sources. So it is suspended, which is perfect. We're going to take Dogatchmon from the sources, and we're going to go ahead and link it. Whenever a Digimon is linked, Gaiamon will unsuspend himself and trash the top of your opponent's security. This triggers Dogatch to allow Gaiamon to also attack. When Gaiamon attacks, he triggers again to link something from him to his sources. So I'm going to choose the Charismon because that's protection. And so he got the 2 checks from the Globemon. Hopefully it survived. He got the 1 trash of security and the 1 check from the attack. And so Gaiamon, this whole stack in total should have done 4 checks of security. Now you just got to closeout game. And that's kind of like your perfect scenario combo. It's not going to happen, but you see how the lines of play are supposed to progress. Don't forget, an early app link makes your Gossipmon live. It is a 4 cost for a level 4 Digimon, so you do want to make this live as early as possible. Playing this without the effect is just, it hurts so much. But now we're going to show you another combo, and this is saying, you know, you're not getting all of these next two combos, you're not getting all of your pieces, or you don't have enough memory because you didn't have a memory setter to begin with. So let's just go back to that scenario of the app link and the Gotchmon to start off with. And then you're going to go ahead and start off at 2 memory when this happens. And so you aren't going to be able to get as far as the Gaimon, but you are going to be able to get pretty far. So you'll link the Navimon for 1, and then play the Haru. And so now the Calendarmon isn't as needed, but if you have it, you have it. So we'll go ahead and app fuse for free. And then now we're at 1 memory. So we have a couple of things that we can do. And you actually will be able to get up to the Gaimon now that I look at this. So that's what the app link is for. And so what we're going to do is we have 2 options. So if we have the Taimon in hand and if we have the Karasmon in hand, we can do 1 or 2 things, also depending if we have the Gaimon in hand. So let's say, for example, we don't have the Karasmon in hand, or we don't have the Gaimon, but we do at least have the Globemon, so let's get there. We'll pay the 2 to link that in, and then it's going to pass turn over. Well, you're going to trigger Haru to go ahead and Digivolve into Globemon for free. It gets a draw, it does the fuse. Oops. And then Globemon can get your Dogatchmon and trigger a swing. So that's 1 play. The other play, and this is saying you at least have the Karas and the Globe. I don't really care if you have the time or not. But let's say you app fuse into these. You're at 1 memory or so. You can actually still do some pretty decent plays here. And this is where the app link comes in handy. So in this case, instead of trying to app fuse, you're going to go ahead and pay the cost. So it's going to be 4 to Digivolve into Globemon. Globemon will do a couple of things. And so at end of turn, because it's all 1 phase, you can't trigger multiple end of turn attacks. So that's not, it's up to you to decide when you want to do it. But you would essentially be getting 3 checks in this situation, or 2 checks if you don't do the attack. So you can do Globemon effect to link the Dogatch and then attack. And then you'll go ahead and end of turn. You're still at your end of turn if this survive. App link. That'll trash the Dogatchmon. Put the Karasmon under. Trigger the Haru to go into. Just kidding. To go into Gaimon. I feel like that's going to happen quite often, where we forget to put our link sources as evolution sources. And so then Gaimon triggers, putting a link source from him back on it, and or putting an evolution source back as a link, and then unsuspending trash security. Now he's a blocker. He has 1 protection. If you don't want to do that, you can also, if you don't feel that that DP is high enough, because some decks just have really high DP. I mean, it happens. So this is kind of a call for you to make yourself. So if you don't feel like this Globemon with the 10 plus the plus the 3, so total of 13k is going to make it, then what you can also do is choose not to use that effect, but you're still at end of turn, so you're going to end of turn app link into the Karasmon. Haru for the draw and the fusion. Go into this, and then with Gaiamon's effect, you're going to Dogatchmon. It will swing because of the Dogatch. When it swings, it gets that, where it unsuspends and trashes. And so you only get 2 checks in this case, but they're safer checks. So those are 2 ways to kind of play that without the perfect scenario. Let's see here. A couple of things to remember. So you won't always have the Dogatchmon or anything like that, but you could also do this with Gossipmon. You could do this without the Dogatch. You could do it with Tamers, because this goes over any level for any level for Super Appmon. And so that's kind of the cool thing about all the Appmon, is that they can do that. If you just literally have the Gossipmon that was played in security or from security, and you have other combo pieces, you can do that as well. You at least need the Haru on the field for that to work, which is why the Gotchmon is important. But if you don't have the Gotchmon and you're just hard playing the Harus, you're setting yourself up for more combos. And the more Harus you have, the more combos that you can do. So don't be afraid to also just hard play at least one Haru if you know that you can go Gotchmon, Link, play a second Haru for free. Later, if you're pushing up from security or something. So Applink isn't always the best like first turn play, but it is a really strong first turn play. And let's see what other combos that we have. Okay, and then we're gonna go into how to use Dogatchmon, because it is essentially your hybrid for game. And so we're going to, this is why I kind of always want to keep an Applink on the field, because Dogatch is just really, it's really good in a bunch of different scenarios. So it does have Rush, it has Raid, and then it has, when it's linked, you attack. So let's say your opponent's down to 0 security, and then you have the Dogatchmon, and we're just going to show a couple of different scenarios on how you can use this. I think those are kind of the 4 big ones, right? And then, there's a Appmon as well. And we'll just say, at some point you get a Haru on the field. There's no situation where you don't get the Haru. So an important ruling to note is that the Rush is a keyword on it, so it doesn't get it for the turn, which means if you Digivolve this, even if it's app fused, you're not going to get that Rush. So your swing is going to be with specifically the Dogatch. So you want to get the most value out of that as possible. I'm going to show you some situations. The most common one is you are ending the game by paying the 6, which is definitely passing turn over, triggering your end of turn Applink, putting a source under, and swinging for game. If your opponent has a Digimon that you need to de-Digivolve, well then, if they have a blocker or an ace or something, if you can switch turn back to you, you can also do the Tamon, or you can do the Globemon to pop a body. So that's 6 + 4. This could pop a 10k Digimon. Don't forget it can raid, so this helps clear the board. Let's see here. You can also do, again, we'll go back to this scenario where you're swinging, you're helping clear the board or whatever, and then you're using your hero to go into Globemon. So those are ways that you can use Dogatchmon. The more Applinks that you have, the more combos that you could pull off, especially if you have, for example, Navimon's piercing. So if you have Raid and you want to pierce over something, but let's say you have 2 Applinks, because you're just playing these things, all your good pieces are in the trash, but you at least have a Gossipmon in hand, so you could hard play. It's going to be an end of turn type of scenario, so you're going to Applink, put the Gossipmon under, and then you're able to get back whatever you need from the trash. In this case, let's say that we had the Globemon in hand, so we just get the Tamon back. Then we'll trigger the Tamon to, then we'll trigger the Applink to put the Tamon that trashes a Gossipmon in there. But now you're set up for a Haru play. You wouldn't be able to attack if you do this, so you either have to attack with a Dogatch or just forego the attack and go into the Globemon for free. And again, so let's say you're at this scenario. Again, with these 2 and 2, because this is like a late game thing. If you have 2 of these late game, like you're doing really good there. So let's say you just hard play that. You're definitely passing turnover. End of turn triggers. App linking first into Tamers. Get your D-Digivolve. Haru to go ahead and app fuse into Globemon. And then you'll do your other app link to put Karasmon under. Haru to go into Gaiamon. Now, Gaiamon can't attack. It is only going to be, it's when Digivolving effect, it's not going to trash the source. So if you were going to do this entire play, if you had a safe swing for the Dogatchmon, well then that's what I would do, is try to swing into like one of your opponent's Digimon or raid into something that you know you can beat, or if the security is super weak, you'll know what your opponent's running and what's in their deck, so you can make calculated risks. Then that will allow this to be suspended for the Gaiamon to unsuspend and trash the top security. So those are all plays that you can do with the Dogatchmon, but the very common one, as long as you have an app link on field and a Dogatch, you just play it, use the app link to link anything, and then you swing for game. All right, and those are the combos. I hope to try this deck out in the future, probably within the next couple weeks or so, and post some videos on it. Keep an eye out for those. Thanks for watching.